Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art and Talk. Art and Talk is an online interviewing platform for artists to share their art, creativity, and passion. We embrace all the arts, the traditional arts and the spiritual arts, to bring you diverse and quality interviews to watch and to also be inspired by. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk, and today we'll be continuing with bringing you another artist that from the collection or the series of artists that we've been presenting to you for the past couple days that are on exhibit, that have artwork currently at the Cultural Council in Lake Worth, Florida, and they're in the biennial exhibit. And the biennial exhibit is a group of all professional artists in the Palm Beach County area, and they're working in a variety of mixed media. Today, our guest visual artist is a contemporary mixed media fiber artist, and we'll be finding out what her artwork is all about, and we'll be looking at a selection of artwork, and we'll also be looking at a video that she put together that helps you kind of get some good insight and a good feel into her artwork. So let's go ahead and welcome our guest artist for today, Michelle Drummond. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Leslie Sue. This is exciting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're so excited to find out about your art and your journey. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the whole fiber art and the mixed media, all these things that you love to play around with and create with.
So my art is, I actually started using fiber by accident. Started in college, creating as an outlet. And I eventually just evolved into just taking it more seriously and then starting to create 2D forms. But I did not normally create, to exhibit. I started off creating to give away to friends and, gifts or birthdays, anniversary. And then, over the years, I had a great friend who kept telling me, Michelle, your work is amazing. You need to stop giving it away and taking it seriously because you have a gold mine here. I've never seen this type of art before, the medium, and it's so unique. So really put some effort into it and get it out there. And, for years I was like, no, I can't, I can't live off of creating art. So I, focus on my career in the corporate industry. And eventually, as you get older, more mature, you really start analyzing what makes you happy. What is it, it's fulfilling, you and gratifying once you create something, a task. And I actually looked into myself and said, creating art, it's really therapeutic. It's really fulfilling. It's really what I love to do. It's not work. It's just, you create a beautiful piece. And it's really about embracing who you are, your creativity, your thought process comes out into your work and gives you a sense of relief. So that is what brought me to where I am today with creating art and just using the medium I use, fiber. It's, I started, it was a task I was asked to do by my professor in college. And I used, just from growing up as a child, I remember, artwork being created using strings and nails, and I adopted that process and created an image, and it was so well received. And I just started, I guess, building on that and pushing the boundaries of using fibers to creating art.
Yeah, so interesting. Michelle, we have a little video that you put together that kind of helps us get into your art and explain some things. Do you need to set it up for us before we show it?
No, go ahead. I think it's ready to go.
Okay, all right, let's go ahead and pull that up. Give me just a moment.
Hello everyone, this is Michelle Drummond of Drummond Fine Art located in Delray Beach, Florida. I'm a contemporary mixed media fiber artist who's been creating amazing work for the past 23 years by manipulating multicolored yarn, acrylic paint, and glue on canvas. My work is truly a reflection of my Jamaican heritage that embraces all forms of diversity. It's vibrant, it's effervescent, it's engaging, it's provoking, and it's so one of a kind, so it can't really be placed in a box. I actually started using fiber as my main medium by accident in college when I was tasked by my professor to create a linear form. And a light bulb went off when, just remembering as a child, peddlers used to come around with these beautiful creations of art made from strings and nail on wood. So I embraced that idea and I applied it to this task that was posed to me. Fast forward 23 years later, I'm a contemporary mixed media fiber artist. I started creating art in 2D forms, and then over the years, it's evolved to 3D forms on canvas. And recently, the fabulous Melanie Johansson, director and curator of the Cornell Art Museum, reached out to me and asked me to produce some ornaments for an upcoming exhibition. I've never done anything off canvas, and I'm like, wow, this is a challenge, but I'm going to embrace this challenge and see what comes out of it. And lo and behold, I have 5 pieces, 3D, off canvas, currently on view in the Cornell Art Museum current exhibition. You can see more of my work at Arts Warehouse, Studio 9 in Delray Beach, and also on my website at drummondfineart.com, along with my Instagram at drum_strings. Thank you for watching and hope to see you soon.
What a great video.
Thank you.
Michelle, you've had at least that we know of 3 really interesting experiences with others that really helped to shape your art. First, you had the college professor that first of all introduced you to the project with the yarn. And then you had a friend who said, look, Michelle, this stuff is outstanding. You've got to not give it away for free. You know, you need to kind of move into this, direction and, pursue it, more in the professional realm. And also from the video, you had the curator from the Cornell Museum of Art who also helped to kind of push you into breaking some new boundaries by saying, okay, we're going to kind of come off the canvas a little bit and do some like 3D work. So, wow, 3 really influential people that came into your life and helped you kind of expand and kind of give you direction with your art.
Yes, definitely, because I create, each time I create a piece, I usually push myself, but, moving from 2D on canvas to 2D, 3D on the canvas, and then standalone 3D, sculptures, that was really pushing the boundaries. Melanie just called me up and said, hey, we have an exhibition coming up. I'd like you, to create some ornaments. And I was like, wow, ornaments? Do you mean sculptures? Because I have not, pushed that boundary. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? But I said, let me try and see how far I can actually manipulate this medium and push the form. And that really, took me into a different level of creating my work. And, it really ties to every time I create a piece, I push the boundaries and see how far I can go and how much more I can improve on what I do. Mm-hmm. So, it's really been a journey, and it's really been exciting in what I can do with a simple strand, of yarn, and, the impact it has, on just all the audience themselves, just, in the artwork, and, what it invokes in them and what it actually provokes in them, what emotion it comes out of them.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit, Michelle, before we look at some of your artwork. Tell us about some of your inspirations and influences.
So my artwork is actually majority of my work, and I call it my life's journey. All my work, it's influenced by my time here in the US. I came here as an international student to continue my education. And it was an entirely new world for me. I'm from Jamaica, an island. We had our own culture, way of living. I've traveled international before, but I've never really lived, outside of Jamaica. So coming here, there were so many different experiences that I encountered. So a lot of hurdles and figuring out ways of overcoming these hurdles and navigating even the system here, getting used to the system in achieving my goals. And what I've noticed while creating my work is a lot of, once I'm finished with a piece and someone asks me about it and I start talking, it's really about my experiences and experiences that were suppressed, manifested in my artwork. And so at times when I'm creating it, I'm not quite sure why I'm creating it, but I know I'm creating, something. And I can't really talk about what is inspiring the piece. But once I'm done with it and someone is asking me about it, I just started talking and I was like, whoa, I surprised myself that it is actually influenced by, one experience or another throughout my journey here in the US. And it's also influenced by my Caribbean culture, my Jamaican heritage, the bright, vibrant colors in your face, it's ties to more of optimism, hope. And, my heritage is full of life. We're always, striving to enjoy life for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. And so that ties into my artwork, along with just my experiences here. And so using art as a form of therapy, as you could mm-hmm. say, mm-hmm. to just live here, survive here.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. And I'm so glad that you shared that, Michelle. So kind of like going back to something that you've touched upon already a couple times is how therapeutic, how healing your artwork is. And so the process for you, kind of on that like emotional and deep level, in addition to the materials that you're using, is sort of like almost like it's what it sounds like. You have this drive, and you kind of like don't really know what it's really about, but you just know and kind of have that trust and that it's leading somewhere, and you just kind of like follow step by step some kind of internal guidance. And then it's really in the completion of it that a lot of the self-discovery comes in. Like, as you were saying, someone might ask you, Michelle, what is this piece about? And you start elaborating. You were saying you kind of surprise yourself, and it's healing some aspect in you, some part, as you were saying, that is, been repressed, and some of the experiences that you've had here. So then that's where the play comes in, where it's actually healing for you.
Yes, it's that my art has done a lot of healing, just producing it and introducing it to the world and speaking to it. It helps me to close a lot of those I wouldn't say wounds, just experiences, well, not so good experiences, because every experience is a learning experience, but it has helped a lot in my, moving forward, moving to the next stage of my life, and actually appreciating my experiences and what, has manifested from those experiences. And I can, in most cases, I realize it's helpful to other people who have somewhat been through those experiences, and for me to be expressing that through art and them seeing my piece and relating to it, I found that it has been, very impactful on, art enthusiasts I've encountered as well.
Mhm. Yeah, that really, helps to kind of tie in the power of art and the power that art has to heal. And I can't tell you the number of artists. There's certainly been a good amount that have come onto Art and Talk, whether they're a visual artist or a poet, musician and whatnot, that also, using their avenue of artistic expression has been very healing for their experiences.
Yes, and just talking to my fellow artists, we have, as much as our journey may be different, art has played a similar role in each of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so grateful that I've decided to really put some effort into this talent that I've been given and use it to, in a more positive light, to make myself better and also to impact people in a positive manner.
Right, yes. And then so the viewer also receives that healing as well. So it has that win-win property.
Yes.
And then also you have the strong influence from your Jamaican growing up and experiences and the colors and the enthusiasm. And so that plays a part in your art as well.
Yes, it definitely, I came here at 19. So I born and raised in Jamaica, it's, you can't hide it. It's who I am. And whatever I do, my heritage comes out. And it's all about just being thankful, enjoying life. It's bright. So when someone looks at my piece, I wanted to, a piece of mine, I wanted to bring out that type of effect, just joy, happiness, and enjoying life. Mm-hmm. So, that definitely, my heritage definitely has influenced my work because of it's who I am. It's part of who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so beautiful. Let's go ahead and let's jump into some of the images that we have of your work.
Okay, great.
Give me just a moment and let's pull some up. Okay.
This is an interesting piece. This piece is actually in the biennial at the 2021 Biennial Cultural Council. And this is part one of 12 pieces in my series called Les Derrières. And, the series itself, it touches on, I created it based on the commonality across cultures of the butt. Les derrière translates in English, from French to English, butt, ass, the rump, the rear end. And, from my experience in every culture, there's a fascination of the butt. And it transcends gender, sex, or sexual orientation, all of the above. So I wanted to focus on the butt. So it shows the underlying commonality and what ties, cultures together, especially in these times. You often look at, okay, what unites people? And my impression of what unites people, it's the butt, it's the human form, it's the fascination. And this piece is actually ties to sensuality. A woman embraces her sexuality and knowingly, positions herself because she knows what the impact and the, as it pertains to sexuality. So I wanted to express that in this piece.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. And so, Michelle, all of this is in yarn, the areas that you want to accentuate, and then the other areas are acrylic, where we have like the solid blocks of color. Is that correct?
Yes, the solid block, which is actually just the background, and you could say it's magenta or pink. Mm-hmm. It is actually acrylic paint. Everything else is in yarn. So it's a mixture of yarn and acrylic on the canvas.
All right. And that's such an interesting area of the human anatomy to focus on, of uniting. I love it. It's great.
It's everyone who's seen the collection, if it's one piece or the 12 pieces, there, it's a talking point. It's conversational. And that's what I wanted it to be as well.
I see. Yes. And can you give us the dimensions of it?
This is an 18 by 24 piece, so it's not very big, but it actually speaks to what I was trying to come across.
Yes, yes. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Okay.
So this one, again, it's in the biennial, and it's, I have 3 pieces out of the 12 in the biennial, and this is called Wise Cheeks. And there's a lot of things going on with this rear end. Again, the pink is acrylic background, and then everything else is yarn. It's Wise Cheeks, it's kind of a play on wise as an owl. So the eyes are shaped like an owl's eyes. And it's actually, someone is always staring at the butt. So it's like, okay, I have wisdom. I've been around. So you're looking at me, and I'm also looking at you. I'm aware that you're looking at me in that sense. And I kind of have the, in between the cheeks, there's a beer bottle, and it's the Jamaican red stripe beer. So it kind of ties in my culture to the butt, because in the Jamaican culture, there's a huge fascination of the butt. If you listen to any of the reggae songs, it's all about the bigger the butt, the better it is. And, it's not necessarily degrading, it's more about embracing the human form and appreciating the human form.
Yeah, so it's really a celebration of this part of the anatomy, and we're right right now specifically kind of looking with women, at least with these two.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the woman embracing that part of her sensuality and just being comfortable with it.
Exactly, and that's what most of the pieces are about. And it's there are some pieces that are tied to the male form, but it's in general everyone being comfortable with themselves, and as you say, embracing who you are and your sensuality or sexuality.
Mm-hmm. And I love the concept with the eyes. It's like, I know you're looking at me,
but I'm looking back at you. So and I have wisdom here. I wasn't born yesterday.
Yes, with the wisdom. Yeah, excellent. All right. Anything else you'd like to share about this?
No, that's really it. That's what it's all about. It's about just wisdom, knowing that it's the butt is always being, I guess, admired, and just embracing that your form, your human form.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Let's check out another one.
So we've transitioned from 2D on canvas to 3D on canvas. So facing this piece, looking at the front view, it looks, if you don't necessarily analyze it, it looks like it's a 2D form. So the front view gives a 2D effect. However, if you look at it from an angle, it is actually a 3D form coming off the canvas. And this is one of 2 pieces in my pipe series. So it's in the form of a pipe. And it speaks to the dual nature of water. This is called Life's Flow. And I created this when Dorian was sitting over the Bahamas. It struck me as to how destructive water can be. However, it also has that, it's a basic need. You need it to survive. And so I created this piece just to show, or the dual nature of water.
Mm-hmm. It was a very intellectual approach, looking at the element of water, because what was going on in nature at the time, and, possible, devastation, that would take place, but also looking at it from the, a variety of angles, as you were saying, Michelle, that it's a life force, that we need, that it's in our body, and, we have to consume it as well.
Yeah, so each of my pieces, as much as the colors are brilliant and it gives you a sense of life and uh, great optimism, I also want to have a message behind it. I create it with a message behind it. And yes, water is destructive, but a positive twist to that is, it is a life source. It's a basic need to survive. So, it's about actually embracing both aspects, both forms of um, the nature of water.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like that dual aspect. And then that's so fascinating, Michelle, tying it together with the circle. And the whole composition is just so interesting. And then here it comes flowing out and then going past beyond the canvas.
Yeah, it's more of about continuous motion of water.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're flowing into more of a positive. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's positivity behind it. As much as the other twists, it can be destructive. But there is a source, it is a life source. And, it's also continuous.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. That's a fascinating subject and the way that you executed and represented it.
Thank you.
Okay. And here we have another angle, as you were saying, looking at it.
So that shows more of the 3D form and the pipe form itself with the water flowing. So it gives you a better perspective of the piece and tying the meaning, behind the dual nature of water and the meaning behind this piece.
Mm-hmm. Yes. From this side view, you really feel the, that 3D aspect and, with the pipe and the flow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go ahead to the next one, Michelle.
Okay, great. So this one is called Risk Taker 3, number 3. It's one of 3 pieces in the series. It's Risk Taker. And I created a series of doors. And it's all about you opening your own doors and not waiting for someone to create an opportunity for you. And this ties to a lot of my experiences here again, in the form of, there were several times when, the opportunity wasn't there, the door wasn't being opened for me. So what do? Do I sit back and, cry about it? Or do I, take it in my own hands and take the reins and create the opportunity for myself? So this is what this piece is about. It's a bit whimsical with the huge doorknobs, because as much as there's a, deeper meaning to it, I also want to have a play on, some whimsy about the piece, and you create it give it a lighter air, but still have a deeper meaning towards what the piece is about.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think we have a close-up to look at. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so it's also 3D on the canvas. So it's a mixture of acrylic and the yarn. So where the yellow-green colors and the light blue is actually acrylic paint, but the black lines are actually 3D coming off the canvas, as well as the door handle. So it is just a play on the colors of the acrylic paint complementing the yarn to bring the image to life.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to stop the screen share for just a second, Michelle. There's so many different ways, to look at your art. And I just thought maybe we could just take a moment to kind of like dive in a little bit deeper into some of your thought processes. So with the one that we just looked at, called the door, it really has a lot of deep significance, because it was, as you mentioned, some things that were going on in your life. And as you had started in the beginning of the interview, you take a lot of your experiences and kind of let those shape the direction of your fiber mixed media art. So here is really like accountability and responsibility, because you wanted things to move in a certain way. Doors weren't opening. And you were saying, okay, well, I can create that. So it's really a sense of empowerment. Would you agree?
I do agree with that. And to be honest with you, I believe most of my life I've been taking risks. I've been opening doors for myself. And, I want, when I create a piece, I'd like to also inspire other people. So, these pieces in this series, Risk Taker, it's more to inspire someone to, as you say, hold yourself accountable and, create opportunities for yourself, not sit back, and dwell on something that's not going the direction you want it to go, or you can actually take the reins and change that direction, to make it more positive for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's that this is what this series is about. I actually created that. I moved here from the Washington, D.C. area about 3 years ago. So, I was in corporate for about 19 years in project management, working as a program manager. And then I came here and I decided I wanted to start a new chapter in my life, and really focus on my art and taking it a lot more seriously, even though I've been doing it creating art for so long, for 20 something years. This was a new chapter and I wanted to open my own doors where in the creative field. And I held myself accountable. I did the work. I did the research. I pursued avenues that would open the door for me to be where I am today, having this interview with you about my art.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of my pieces speak to just empowering yourself, being positive, being optimistic, and just be a go-getter and taking the risk.
Mm-hmm. And such a great message. And the colors that you incorporate, so then that's kind of bringing more the enthusiasm and colorful aspects of your Jamaican heritage.
Yes, it's okay. Hold yourself accountable. It is a risk you're taking, but I want to bring some light and fun and joy to it. Think about it as something that's going to have a positive change in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my work is so vibrant, because as much as, yes, you're going through something and there's some seriousness to it, there's also, some playful aspect you can incorporate that would make the journey even better.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So we're really seeing like you're looking at kind of both sides of the coin, so to speak. You have that, realistic, this is what it is, this is what you're going through. But, wait, there's also the flip side, kind of bringing joy, enthusiasm, and almost like hope and encouragement and that sense of, as we were just discussing, of empowerment and accountability. Like, yeah, be the creator, make it happen.
Yes. So, that's what my work is about. And that's what pushes me to create art, and create it in forms that are not so literal, but evokes some form of emotion, impact on someone, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. And moving into like not so literal, and we can just touch upon a little bit of the life's flow with the water that we just looked at a few moments ago. So, being like an abstract representation of water, and again, looking at kind of, two different, sides inspired by what was going on in nature at the time. How did you come up with the idea of, with like, I mean, did you just think of water and think of pipe and think of flow, think of yarn, or how did that whole kind of idea evolve?
I'm smiling because that came to me when I was in spin class. I was doing a spin class at the gym, and I'm writing, and then I'm like, a pipe, water. Most of the times when I create, something just flashes, just pops in my mind. And then I cannot get it out of my mind until I actually create the form, manifest it into a physical form.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea of water I was literally in a spin class, and this form came to me, and I said, I need to create this. And then probably a couple of days later, Dorian, the threat for hurricane, and Dorian over the Bahamas, devastating the Bahamas. And during that time, I actually created this piece. So it was really and I don't know, somewhat of a premonition of pipe water. And then, this piece, I created the piece.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's, and that's what happens to most of the times when I create a piece, it's, I get this vision or this that comes to me, and there's no color attached to it, but I know it's somewhat of a form that I need to create and manifest it into a physical form. And then until I do that, it's like it's haunting me for me to create that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm explaining why I'm creating it, it's not until the end, as I've said, that sometimes I realize why I'm creating the piece. So it's just crazy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm explaining this to you this way, but that's really how a lot of my work comes to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other spontaneous kind of like vision forms that have occurred with you that inspired you to create some of your art, like what you just shared in the spin class?
Uh, I have this piece called, and I don't think you have an image of it. It's called Blurred Vision. It's on view at the moment at BACA, Bailey Contemporary Art Center, in Pompano. And I was driving, and there was pouring. And, I was like, wow, something just came to me. I know it's inspired by the pouring rain and the wiper blades. But I said, okay, I have to create this piece called Blurred Vision. I don't know how I'm going to create it because it's 3D. It's this crazy psychedelic image. And I created this windshield, and then with just crazy, yarn all over the place. And then these wiper blades, 3D wiper blades that I attached to the canvas. And and then I said, okay, it's blurred vision, but the twist on that is at the moment your vision is blurry, but it's a matter of focusing on your goals and overcoming and the hurdles, the obstacles that are in your way. As much as it's pouring rain, you have a destination that you're trying to get to, and you're not going to divert from that, or you're going to have workarounds to get to that vision, to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's how a few of my pieces, have evolved. There's another one called Opportunity with a Hand. That was the real first 3D. I have never created a hand. I've never created something like that. And I think I was driving and I said, I need to create a hand. And it was this shadow of a hand. I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I can't get this image out of my mind. And, I trial and error, figuring things out. And I created this hand with a ball, resting in the center. And I call it Opportunity. So it's about grasping opportunity in the palm of your hands and taking it and creating, opening, opening doors, taking advantage of opportunities that are presented to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how a lot of my pieces are manifested into, something that's tangible.
Mm-hmm.
It comes to me in a premonition, and I have to create the piece because that image just keeps haunting me. And it's until I create the piece, then it's a release. It feels like it's a release into, manifesting a subconscious into consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Now, when you get these like bursts of visions and these ideas, do you jot it down in a journal? Do you sketch it out? Because let's say you're in the middle of another piece or maybe finishing up a couple other pieces and you're kind of pacing it out in your mind when you're going to get to it. How do you keep that vision alive? Any sketching, any ways that you kind of like keep that going?
No, the funny thing is I don't normally sketch my pieces.
Mm-hmm.
What I normally do is get a piece of canvas and said, okay, I want it to be this size. And as much as I'm finishing up a piece, I finish one piece before I start another, but that image is still in my head. And I usually don't sketch it in a pad. I probably sketch just the outline or just the base on the canvas, and then I build it out from there. So throughout my years of creating, if you ask me if I have a sketch pad of any of my pieces, I don't have any. I think it's recently that I've been commissioned to do a piece, and I created 3 concepts and presented the concepts, and it's the first time I've ever jotted anything down on paper as it pertains to creating my artwork.
Mm-hmm. So that vision, it sounds like, Michelle, just keeps kind of knocking, and it just keeps staying there. And then you know now, because it's happened so many times, that you need to execute this idea in an art form. And then that kind of, as you were saying, the subconscious kind of coming out into conscious awareness, and then it's released.
Yes, that's exactly how it happens. And I know it's crazy, but that's how I create. And, sometimes I don't even see the colors. It's more in a shadow silhouette form. And it's as I create the piece, then I just go with the colors, whatever, I have a ball of yarn. I said, okay, let me try this. And it just fits. So it's not planned in any way, which is amazing about, finished piece. It may look like I had these colors all planned and coordinated, but they're really not planned at all.
It's all kind of in the moment, in the creative process itself.
Yeah. And going with the flow, yes.
Right, yes. Talk to us a little bit about what it's like to work with the yarn and just your tactile sense and just, working with that and all the different layers and whatnot. How is that experience for you?
It's been amazing. A lot of people, the first thing they say to me when they see my work is, oh my goodness, you have so much patience. It's like each strand, you're laying each strand. And I said, I do have patience, but I can sit there for hours and not realizing that the time is going, because it's so meditative. It's, I keep saying the word therapeutic, but it's so meditative. It eases your mind. And it's that continuous repetitive motion of layering the yarn and laying each strand and building it up. And, in addition to the colors. So it's, in addition, the colors as well as the texture of the yarn is meditative, it's therapeutic. And I use different weighted yarn. So I don't just use, and the weighted yarn gives more of the structure. So I can, it helps me to easily manipulate the form when I use different weighted yarn. And then the lighter weight yarn, I use it to refine the outer image of the artwork. But it's very, very much as it looks like I have a lot of patience, and I do, but it gives me release. It's very meditative. I can sit and, if there's a lot of noise going on, sometimes I don't even know that there's a lot of noise. It's kind of, I block it out, and I'm just in that trance, a state of trance.
Wow. So yeah, you're really in that transcendental space.
Yes.
And you're just really in that creative zone, that whole beautiful, beautiful space to be in.
Yeah. So, it's become a part of my life. Well, it has always been. I just really embraced it in the past few years. Once, I'm really coaxed along to start taking it much more seriously than and I think it was more of, I was using it as an outlet when I started creating and giving it away, and not necessarily looking at it as, okay, this can have some monetary gain to it. For me, it was more of an emotional, mental release outlet. And now, throughout the years, I've started really focusing on it. And when I started focusing on it, I realized that I can actually do so much with it and push the boundaries and of the form of using fiber. Mm-hmm. So now it's more, it's still an outlet, but it's exciting because it is so, there's so many opportunities, so many ways that I can, manipulate this medium and create these beautiful pieces. And I usually surprise myself because I don't go into it thinking, oh yeah, this is great, I know what I'm creating, it's going to look amazing, but it usually turns out to be even better than what I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's such interesting insight. I'm also wondering if we can just touch a little bit, Michelle, upon the actual creative process in terms of on the canvas, if it happens to be on the canvas, or however you'd like to elaborate. So I'm just trying to like imagine you in process. So like some that we looked at where it has the acrylic and then the yard of form, do you work them up simultaneously? Do you block out colors? Do you work with the yarn first and then the acrylics, or how does that play out?
So the acrylic is usually the last part of the creative process. So I usually create the form using yarn and different colors. And then at the end, I said, okay, what background color would complement all of this? Because there's so many different colors going on. And that is when I actually choose the background color, the acrylic paint, to apply to, to complement the image. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a cart before the horse type of creating. Normally you have the background color and then you're creating to complement the background color of the, of the artwork. But I create the work first using the yarn, and then I add the color to it. And I have to be very careful because the work is already finished. So I don't actually get the paint on the yarn. So that's also a tedious, oh my goodness, I need to go around these corners, these crevices, and not have have it on the yarn, get it on the yarn.
Mm-hmm. So, the artist Matisse, towards the end of his life, he spoke about in the large kind of abstract forms that he created, that he made by cutting paper. He said that the scissors really guided him. Do you feel that way with your hands when you're working with your yarn, Michelle, that it's just kind of like, it's just kind of guiding you and that's kind of putting you in that whole meditative state? Or how would you kind of describe it?
For Matisse, it's the scissors. For me, yes, it's the yarn. It's more of, just the individual, layering individual strands. Mm-hmm. And then going with the flow of the colors and not being so deliberate to say, I'm going to use this color or I'm going to use that color, but picking up a ball and said, okay, this is, I know the form that I'm trying to create, but what color would complement the form? And it's really just going with the flow. And letting it, free flowing, because that's where your creativity really comes into play. If you restrict yourself and you're so deliberate, at times, you're forcing the artwork mm-hmm. to come to fruition instead of just let it easily come to fruition.
Yes, that's great insight. And you seem to really align with that process pretty well. You don't seem to kind of have any, restrictions or any like limitations that you put on it. You really just, allow that, that energy to just flow and to direct you.
Yes, you're right. Because, when I do say, okay, I want to do this, it's as if I get an artist block. And then when I just relax and said, you know what are you doing? Create how you normally create, then it just starts flowing. So, it's a matter of just relaxing and just going with the flow, going with the energy that you feel.
Mm-hmm. Michelle, we still have a few more minutes. I just like to ask you a question. If you could offer any advice let's say somebody is watching this and maybe they have like, lots of corporate experience, kind of like what you had, or maybe it's in, some profession, and they feel a calling to create art. That takes a lot of courage and a lot of trust to break away. And it's something that you did and quite successfully. How would you advise somebody who is maybe in that same situation to kind of like take that step of faith?
My advice is to follow your gut, but also have a plan. You do your research, do your research on the area. Because I moved from the Washington, D.C. area, very politically charged, corporate, down here. And I knew that moving to Florida, South Florida, my work would be better embraced because of the environment and because of the colors I use and because of the uniqueness of my work as well. You have to recognize what you have and also make sure that what you're bringing to the table is unique. Because if it's, similar to what everyone else is doing, you're not going to stand out, against the other artists or whichever environment or your competitors, because I find the creative environment very competitive. So what makes you different? So you have to really identify what makes you different and what will give you that you notch above the rest so that you can be successful. And it's a lot of doing the groundwork, doing the legwork. I came down here and I researched organizations. I applied to a lot of exhibitions to get, see if my work would be accepted. Look at my competitors, look at the type of work they create. One of the things that really pushed me was when I moved down here in 2018, I got into Red Dot, doing Art Basel, an art fair. But I went to a lot of the exhibitions during Art Basel, and I looked at the quality of work, and I said, wow, I need to step up my game because these are amazing. For me to compete at a certain level, I have to come in at that level or even better, and have to be able to put the work in. So that is what really got me to transitioning from, corporate into really focusing on my art and getting to the level I am right now, And for me, I still consider myself an emerging artist compared to so many of my fellow artists who've been in, this field for years. So it's a matter of just making sure that when you come in, you actually have something that's unique and will be well embraced.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that advice, Michelle. We're going to need to get ready to wrap up the show, but I'm interested if you could share with us, what are some of your current projects that are going on? Are you working in the off 3D, the 3D with the canvas, 3D standalone, or what's kind of going on?
What's going on is I have transitioned to working, I would say 3D on the canvas as well as 3D off the canvas. I don't think I can revert to going just 2D. My work has evolved significantly, and I find it so much more interesting in creating forms on and off the canvas in 3D. So right now I actually have a collaboration with a high-end shoelace company called Whiskers Laces, and I'm working with them to create this piece using their laces. So a combination of my yarn and acrylic paint with their laces to bring, a piece to life that ties to my brand and theirs. So that's one of the things that I'm working on right now. I have a few things that's coming up that I'm not at liberty to talk about. In a couple of months you'll probably find out about it. But that's been my focus. And I've started a piece, but it's kind of, it's also 3D on the canvas, but it's I guess it's delayed right now because I'm working on another, the commission piece that's due sooner than later. But my work, yes, I have really evolved into 3D on the canvas and 3D off the canvas. And I keep pushing the boundaries, of the technique and the material that I use. So,
yes,
a lot more to come.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Those projects sound interesting, especially that, collaborative one. So we'll be interested to see, how that takes shape and whatnot. We do need to wrap up the show, Michelle, and we'd like to offer you the closing comments, however you'd like to close out the show. And I know in the video you showed towards the end, there was a lot of your social media connections, but if you could just kind of let us know those again.
Okay, great. So, my work, I just want to wrap up by saying my work is thought-provoking. I don't necessarily create it for people to go by what inspired the piece, but I wanted to, I want people to view it and have their own interpretation of what they see and what emotion it brings out in them. To see more of my work, because I'm in process and I have so much going on, you can see that on my website at drummondfineart.com. I also have an Instagram handle at drum_strings, and that's where I post just in process images, who I'm collaborating with. So, if you want to see a lot more of what's to come, just keep following that, and you'll see the in process and the finished product. I'm also on Facebook, but Instagram and Facebook are tied together. So, I think Instagram is more of the interesting, where you're seeing the in-process photos and the final result.
Michelle, thank you so much for being our guest today on Art and Talk and sharing your whole world of contemporary mixed media fiber art. It's been really fascinating, and the boundaries, that you're breaking, and your drive, and how you want the viewer to view your work, and then like your whole creative process and thought process in your work. It's really been a great journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to just share my experience and my work. This has been fun.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching Art and Talk today. And we still have another artist to bring to you, so do stay connected with us. That's from the biennial exhibit at the Cultural Council in Lake Worth. And if you haven't had a chance to watch some of the other artist videos, we'd love for you to jump on our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see the whole video library of the artists that we've interviewed. And again, thank you so much for watching. Michelle, thank you so much for being our guest artist today. And we'll talk soon on the next Art and Talk. Until then, be well and be blessed.